when you practice empathy, you are able to kind of try to imagine the reality of the other person, even if it's something you've never experienced yourself. So, empathy is really a great tool for connecting. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we have a new colored background and I thought it would be a nice time to talk about empathy. It's something that we all really need to get better at, especially as we try to navigate this now normal, which is living with a pandemic. So why is empathy so important? Empathy is how we relate to somebody else, even if their experience is totally different. And when you practice empathy, you are able to kind of try to imagine the reality of the other person, even if it's something you've never experienced yourself. So, empathy is really a great tool for connecting. And during the pandemic, when we were forced to isolate, that physical closeness also took away some of our ability to stay in touch, to stay connected, to stay present. And so we need to relearn how to flex this empathy muscle, especially for those of us that work in the service industry, the frontliners. It's also very difficult because empathy is about being able to sit with feelings that may not be the most comfortable, especially if somebody that you are talking to or relating with is going through something very difficult or unpleasant or just something that isn't a lot of fun, right? And so it can be very tempting to jump in and give advice and say, okay, if I were you, this is the approach that I would take, or the way I see it, this would be the best way to tackle this situation. But empathy is really more about practicing a lot of listening. A lot of the time you don't need to say anything. You just need to be present. And if you do feel the need to say something, make sure it's something reassuring. Some empathy phrases that would be very helpful would be things like, I'm here for you. You could also say, I can see how this was very difficult. Or I can see, if it's still happening, I can see how this is very challenging for you. I'm really not sure how I would react in a similar situation. So depending on who it is you are trying to empathize with, it's important to never assume that you know what the person is feeling. Because we don't. We really don't, even if we have been in a similar situation. So when you're using empathy to relate to somebody at work, perhaps it's your customer, it's important to be able to know how to at least label the emotion. When you label the emotion of what you think the person is experiencing or going through, then it becomes easier to identify what possible things are going through their mind or what they are feeling. And when you're able to identify that emotion, then if the person is so inclined, you're able to develop what to do next together. And I think the most important thing about empathy, apart from connecting, is it builds trust. So when you're able to empathize well with somebody else, you're building trust because they feel like, hey, I'm not alone in this. Somebody gets what I'm going through. Somebody understands. And that's so comforting, right? When somebody understands or at least can approximate what it is you're going through, you feel like you don't have to do this horrible, difficult thing by yourself. And I think we need more of this. We need to be able to connect on a deeper level this way, even though sometimes I know it's difficult. It's something that we need to constantly practice to get better at. And when you build that trust, it really goes such a long way in strengthening your relationship, whether it's with a colleague, a member of your family, a friend, or somebody that you are working with that maybe not the easiest personality to understand or get along with. Empathy goes a long way in really helping us expand our mindsets and being more tolerant, more accepting, and more understanding of others that may not be the way we are. And I think this can really go a long way in so many disciplines and in life in general, in making you a more tolerant, understanding, and flexible individual, because we should really be celebrating our differences. Because if we were all the same, what a boring world it would be, right? So I hope you enjoyed watching this video on empathy. Tell us how you are practicing this, and if it's something that's easy or difficult for you. We'd love to know in the comment section down below. Please hit that subscribe button if you enjoy our content. Feel free to share and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and keep growing with SilverTrain.